Hello and welcome to Chapter 4 of Hands-On with Fujifilm GFX ETERNA 55. Today we're going to talk about monitoring options. Now the camera does come with a very nice 5-inch LCD that's capable of 2000 nits brightness, so it's very capable in outdoor bright light situations. However, many people in professional productions will prefer to output through either SDI or HDMI out and make use of various functions that external monitors can provide, or for transmitting the image wirelessly across the set to Video Village and places like that. In the main menu, you will find an item called Monitor, and the first thing you probably are going to want to do is enter the SDI HDMI output settings, and you will want to enable or disable SDI and HDMI out. Also, you are going to want to determine whether you want to send 4K or HD through the external outputs. Some monitors that people may have are only capable of HD. They can't take a 4K signal, so this might be important to check. Also, there's the SDI HDMI output frames per second. So here you can select whether you want the output to match the frame rate of your project or whether you want the output to match the frame rate that you're actually recording in. Now, if you look on the LCD itself, around the image area, you'll see a lot of information. This information can actually be customized on the main menu here under Monitor. If you go down lower to Display Custom Setting, and when you enter that, you'll see a number of items that have check marks or are unchecked. And to determine what is shown on the LCD, you simply go through that list and select which things you want to appear. So even though this information is for the screen here on the LCD, you can actually enable the information to go out over the SDI and HDMI. So that again is in the monitor setting, and there is in the SDI output setting, there's an item here called SDI HDMI output info display. And if you turn that on, what it's going to do is mirror your LCD output to the external outputs. Some other useful options that you might find in the monitor menu are the waveform vector scope settings, including also RGB parade and histogram. So you can enable these and you will see them on the screen. Now note, you might also have a display toggle button that's programmed into the side of the monitor. So on this particular one, it's function 6, and that enables you to change the options for what you're seeing on that screen once you've turned them on in the menu. Also, once you've selected your waveform or your vector scope, you can further configure that with this function button labeled Screen Setup. And as you toggle through those various options, this determines where on the screen that particular item is going to show up and how large it is. There's also framing guidelines. Now you can have up to 3 different framing guidelines on the LCD. So you can choose, say, frame 1, turn it on, and you can select various aspect ratios that are presets, or you can go to custom and you can create your own custom aspect ratio. Once you select the aspect ratio, you can then also choose the color of the framing guideline and the thickness of the line. So again, you can have 3 different ones. You can also set a masking area, and you can also have a center marker setting if you wish. Now, one thing to be aware of is if you do turn on those framing guidelines, they are also going to be controlled by that display toggle button on the side. So if you do toggle the waveform on and off, the framing guidelines will also go on and off along with them. Now there's a very important button here, sub-monitor button number 5, bottom row in the middle, that I call the look management button. So there are 3 vertical columns here labeled Media, LCD, and SDI HDMI. Now the selections you make here are going to be the effects of the visualization that you get either on the internal LCD or coming out of the outputs from the back. However, it can also affect what you record in, and that is why you need to pay very good attention to the column labeled media. So clean, the word clean here basically means there is no lookup table being applied. So it's going to send out whatever signal you have created in the main project settings, being F-Log or HLG or film simulation. So I would suggest you always leave that media column in the clean setting. Now, to import lookup tables, and the camera can store up to 16 lookup tables. They can be 17, 33, or 65 sized cubes. You can put the lookup table onto your storage card, and then when you're in this window, if you hit the button labeled LUT, you now have choices for film simulation, log 2, log 2C, and what this means is when you are using that tone curve, you're going to say, this is the lookup table I want to apply whenever I'm using this tone curve. So right now it says default for F-Log 2C. I'm going to enter that. You will see the item says not registered. So these are the empty slots for lookup tables. You simply hit the button that says load, and it will search the card for it. And there's one here selected. I'm just going to enable that, say yes. And now there it is. The name of that lookup table now appears on the list. Apple Pie WDR, it can be whatever you want. You just highlight it and select it, and now you'll see that lookup table is being applied whenever I'm recording in F-Log 2C. So if I go back to this screen, currently clean look clean means the LCD is getting the look, which is that lookup table, but my SDI output is getting a clean signal. It is getting the F-Log 2. It is not getting a lookup table. That's it for monitoring setup. Thank you for joining me.